Cold. Cold, cold, cold. It's a cold out here. Damn. Like one day it'd be nice and sunny and warm. The next day it'd be just chilly as like anything. Whew. Man, that's cold. I gotta do a little bit of work to this Cujo. Got to thinking about something. Because the help that I needed to make the mold for this thing is not coming. So I'm going to have to buckle down and do this myself. It's going to be a one-man operation. I'm not going to do it all right now. I've still got to do a couple of things on this. Thankfully, this thing is sweating well enough that it's keeping the clay good. I've got to make a mold of the nose of this, just to make sure that the nose itself is preserved, because I'm going to have to remove the bottom jaw and do that separately. And then I'm going to have to do I'm going to use playing cards to make my flanges. I'm going to have to cut a groove through the foam here, put playing cards straight down the line here to separate the two sides, and then I've got to do a mold straight down the middle underneath here. So I've been putting this off because I was waiting for somebody to come out and help me, but the person I was waiting on had to turn around and go back from whence they came. Personal situation came up. They couldn't help. So, and the other person that I usually have helping me in the shop works a regular job. Unfortunately, like some of us don't. So I have to take it upon myself to do this all by my lonesome. And this is definitely a two-man project. This is not something that can be done by one person. This would need to be something to be done by more than one person. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to make a silicone mold impression of the nose, because if something should go wrong and the fiberglass was sick or doesn't come out right, then whenever I make the mold forms of the foam and the nose doesn't come out with all the details and stuff, I can readily have it off to the side to make another impression of it. So that's one of the things I've got to do right here. And of course what I'm doing is taking my silicone and measuring out the silicone in the cup. I don't have it on the I have it on the table here. So what I'm doing is just measuring out the silicone here to get this prepped. I'm documenting everything I'm doing just so people can see the entire process of what goes into this. And I'm not going to need that much silicone. It's going to be a very, very little bit. Just enough to make a proper mold for the nose. So we're looking at like 42 ounces of 42 grams of silicone. So it's almost a waste even putting catalyst in it, really, because there's 4 grams of catalyst. Now, there's the lid right there. I'm looking for the lid from the silicone. So here I have the silicone measured out on scale 42 grams of silicone. So I'm going to need 4 grams of catalyst. And that's going to be done by this. I don't even think the weight's picking it up. Wow. Yeah, I'm just gonna do this separately because it's a combined weight thing, and I'm just gonna scratch it up and mix it up. I think I put too much catalyst in here because it's not even registering on the scale. But the thing is, like I said, is to make the impression of the nose in kind of a box form mold a little bit, because I want to make sure that I can capture all the pore details on it. You know, I do have a pore molder pad, but you can't really pore mold a pad in foam. That's next to impossible. So that's the problem with this, is that I have pores on the nose that need to be caught in detail, and the details in clay will be inhibited if I don't get a good impression of it. And so that's why I wanted to kind of clay mold, silicone mold the nose a little bit. So all I'm going to do is I've got this mixed up really well. And I'm going to do this. Actually, I should remove the bottom jaw first. I gotta peel back some of this clay. And the problem is the bottom jaw has to be done separately because of the fact that it's going to be a 3-part mold. And if I can mold the jaw separately instead of having to cut it, because the jowls are what's obstructing my access to being able to successfully cut this and do all the shaping. So I will have to slightly destroy a little bit of my sculpting. And not really destroy it, but I'll have to take some of this off, because I can freeform this back when I need to. Boy, this clay is on here good. Hallelujah. Sometimes they say that you do too good of a job on things, and that can be true. That indeed can be true. I'm going to get a scraper here. Just to release some of this clay back for the underside of the jaw, where I had to mount it up. This is the part that I dread having to do, because you put all the time and effort into making something, And then sometimes you have to go back and fix things that you were a little bit oversighted on doing in the first place. So all I'm doing is just taking a little clay away from the form on the underside of the jar in very straight, regular patterns, so I can still have the definition I need without obscuring too much of the sculpt. Let me go ahead and throw this silicone on here on the nose before it will before it does anything bad. This is going to be a thick mold, because it's going to be to make the impression of the nose as well as the details. So I'm going to round this off on here and square it out, because I need to get something that's going to almost pretty much stand on its own without having to have a mold form. So if I need to make a clay, or not a clay, but a foam mold impression in this, I can do it without inhibiting the actual mold itself. So I'm just trying to shape this into almost a square boxy mold and thick enough all the way around that when it dries it will be, you know, I can put like plaster bandages on the outside of it. Now this isn't going to stick to the clay at all. It will not stick to the clay at all. So silicone only sticks to silicone. So here you see I've developed all this time and effort into the sculpting, and I have to go back and make some modifications just for safety's sake, and the fact that if there's a mistake made in molding this, I have something to back it up with, insofar as, oh, okay, no problem, we go to plan B. This is a plan B. I actually, believe it or not, was dreaming last night that this happened. That I did, in fact, go with my plan of making this mold, and had a catastrophe where the front part of this came off. The clay and everything and the fiberglass, and kind of got ruined, and the impression wasn't that great in the fiberglass. So I turned around and said, oops, I wish I would have molded that before I did this. So I'm going to go with the fact that my dream might have been telling me, hey, you might want to go out and do this just as a precaution thing. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I don't know if anybody else has done this before. I know I haven't. This is another first-time endeavor. I'm not trying to thin this out, but I am trying to make it thick enough all the way around that it's going to be pretty solid to kind of stand on its own. Because if I put expanding foam in there, it's going to need to work, or urethane rubber, which is what I'm wanting to do. It's kind of make a urethane foam rubber nose and put it in there. They do have those, and there's rods that are put in with the nose inserts, and they don't really, I don't think they really sell nose inserts that you can put in. They may, but you know what? If I can take an impression of one and make my own, that would save me a lot of time and money instead of having to go buy nose inserts every time I do one of these. And it's not a nose insert that is readily available because dogs and bears have different style noses. So I've had to modify this one with clay. So if I were to go buy a nose insert, I would have to modify each and every one to fit the same parameters of the one that I've done for this one. So that's the problem, and why hence I am taking molds of my own modified sculpt to make sure that I come out with the same detail every time one of these is made. Now I've got that on there. I'm going to grab a drill real quick, and I've got to pull this jaw off of here. And let's find out where our power source is right here. Okay, here we go. Now see, this is where I could use a second set of hands. See? I don't even have the right size bit or something in here. Oh, who knows? Well, the longer this clay stays out underneath the bag, away from the bag, the more it starts to want to dry up. So I don't want to have this clay out for too long. I'm done. Maybe another course in failure. Oh my God. Okay. That's what it's going to entail. I'm going to have to get in here and get lippy with it and pull the screw out. And it doesn't want to come out on its own. Yep. So I'm going to find either A, a better bit, or B, get a pry bar and pull that screw out. And if I have to get a pry bar and pull that screw out, we do risk a little bit of loss of, oh, okay. Got a file rasp here. I'm going to try this. There we go. All right, good. Good deal. I got the head pulled back, so yes, I can actually get one of these screws out by hand. Shit. See if you guys remember, you saw the video where we made this, and we had to cut the lower jaw and put it back in with foam, and I had to screw it back on because I was going to mold the whole thing, and then I was going to, my idea was to mold the whole thing and then come in and take the jaw out. But the problem is, anatomically, it's harder to cut up under these jowls right here, the jowl flaps. And those are such an integral part of the design that need to be implemented in the final foam form for the dog, that it can't be compromised by doing it separately or not having them on or trying to put them on after. It doesn't quite work that way. So what I have to do is come in here and make a little bit of modification on this. I've got it pulled out where I can do it by hand, without compromising the entire thing and ruining the entire structure. Just pull the screw out. Right here. Then find the lip and the area of the jaw that I can get in here and grab a hold of without compromising anything, and pull it loose. Because it's being held in there by screw bolts after I had foamed it. And now I have to go back in, undo a little bit of this clay work to get this loose enough to pull it back out. Because what's going to happen is, when I do mold this, it's a 3-part mold with a removable jaw. So the jaw being removable, so I can, do it in separate ways and separate poses. I have to have, and this is my rational mind thinking this, I have to have it accessible to be able to do it interchangeably. In other words, if I have a lower jaw that's a separate piece, it can actually be easier to do this with, instead of cutting every single form and positioning the jaw. All I have to do is go in, position the jaw, place it, rather than cut each and every form. And that's the thing that I'm trying to do here with this. Gently pry this back loose again, which is very, very secured on here. Very well secured. Oh, see there? Now here's the thing. It might break off. I can fix that. This clay has got this thing inhibited so well. That it's virtually impossible for me to pull this thing off without changing some of the form. So, whoa, now it wants to slip and fall. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this 3/4 mold, 3-piece mold, and it's going to have to be, yeah, I'm gonna have to end up cutting the jaws off of the bottom of these things every time. That's gonna be a definite have to do thing. What I'm probably gonna have to do is just put a tuck line in here, so when I do make the mold, I have a tuck line for the fur and the jaw. But yeah, this is definitely going to be harder than I thought. No problem. I got this. No problem. Because, see, the fur is going to be covering up a lot of this stuff. So, you know, if I make the mold form, and the mold form comes out and it looks different and all that stuff, it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to really see any definition or detail of the defects on the outside because fur is covering everything up. So I'm going to leave this jaw on here, and I'm going to just surrender and cut each mouth lower jaw as needed on this. That is, I'm going to have to re-put this clay in here and smooth this out. So that's all I'm doing right now. And then I have to let this silicone dry before I put the sleeve back over it. I'll put a little bit of clay up here in the lip and just close that up. Just a tad bit. A little bit of wet clay right there. And close that up. So I'm trying to eliminate, when I make the mold for fiberglass, I want to eliminate as many gaps as I can to make it about a smooth transition as possible. The problem in that is this thing is not really, it's got this major undercut in the jowl area. So it's going to be a little restrictive. And at least the nose is going to be preserved. That's a good thing. So, just to show you guys a full-on thing here, what I've had to do is try to cut the underside of the jowl here. So if I smooth this out and get this more proportional to the fiberglass molding. Where is this? Why is this thing not doing this? Hold up. Okay. So underneath here has to be proportional, because this part right here, from the tip of the mouth all the way back down through here, is going to be a third. It's not even showing it. You can't even see it. Holy crap. Yeah, you can. Okay. So from here down through this portion here, 90 degrees this way, 90 degrees that way, is going to be one portion, one part. Then you got one side here, which is going to be another part, and then you got the other side, which is going to be three. So it's a three-part mold of this. And that's where I'm struggling, because I got cut 90-degree angles on this right here. It's a three-quarter turn form. So it's actually turned to the left. You can see that, where it's turned this way. So, God almighty. Let's see if I can pick it up. Now, the whole thing is it sits there and it's three-quarter turned to the left. So the molding part for fiberglass is going to be a little bit more difficult than normal. So, and I gotta wait for this silicone to dry before I can put this back on here. Let me flip this around. God almighty, I can't show this. Okay. Alright, here's a better look. Now you can see the whole thing. So you got the clay sculpting on the form, the dog's head with all the muscle definition, the ear butts. And like I said, I've got to take cards and put them all the way down the middle here, all the way down to the tip of the nose. And then one side is one straight off. And then I've got to make a third form mold, probably somewhere like this, where it's going to have to be angled. And see, that's where I'm trying to figure out the right angle to catch for this thing, to make the underside. And I'm thinking it's somewhere right in here. And do this lower portion from here down through here, and then the sides is 2 other pieces. So that's where I'm trying to figure out the exact dimensions needed to make this exactly 90 degrees, which I'm thinking gonna follow this line right about here. And then of course here it's gonna follow right here. So there's a 1 part and 2 part and 3 part, and that's a problem that I'm running into. Like I said, this is a 2-person project, and there's only 1 person working on it, me. I'm the only one doing this, so that's the problem. There's nobody here to help me. I need help. Please, somebody come help me. So I'm just going to mark my lines in wet clay. That way, when I go back out to mold it, it's already got dirty wet clay on it. So, looks like until the silicone dries, that's pretty much going to be the extent of it. So, I'll probably let this be the end of that. I thought we were going to come out here and have a good old time doing some molding and stuff, but nope. I've got to let stuff dry and set up. So, but when I do the fiberglass molding on this, I will indeed come out and do a